Hello my happy tree friends, this is Bats. So today we're doing another tier list. I know I just did 2 tier lists yesterday, but I don't know, these are funny and I'm bored, and Discord wanted me to do another one, so we're doing another one. They said they wanted sneaky, so we're doing sneaky. As simple as that. So we're gonna start off right with the first card, that's Swabby. Swabby is an interesting card. It's not a very good card, to be honest. It's not a horrible card though, I'll give it that. Zero cost is nice when playing Telems, since you usually have a teleportation zombie on the field, and it's pretty much just a free body, which gets deadly from Toxic Waste Imp and draws cards with Imp Commander. It's also a free way of setting up Blob, but like that's just HG. And pretty much any other hero you wouldn't want this on an Imp deck, I don't think. Maybe for like turn 3, playing this together with Nim Commander to have the draw a little bit more guaranteed, but then again committing turn 3 is not good. I don't know, it's not a great card. It's not a horrible one though either though. I'll put it in C tier. Actually I just realized I forgot to add an F tier again, just like every other stream. So that'll do. Just quick F tier, thank you. Alright, so next off we have the Imposter. Or I don't, is it actually called Imposter? It might actually be called Imposter. This is a lot better of a card than Swabby, mainly because it's sort of on curve, at least in terms of attack. It's not great in terms of just a turn 1 play though, because usually the opponent will just ignore it and just take the free block charge. But like, it does have the good imp synergy, so I'll put it in like B tier. Alright, next off we have Graveyard. This is a really good one. It's like zombie environments for some reason are a lot better than plant environments right now. And no, that's not because of order of turns, it's just because they do better stuff. And just hiding zombies in Gravestone, that's actually surprisingly really valuable, because it's basically just a teleport that stays on the field. Because the opponent doesn't actually know what you're gonna play, and usually when you skip over as a Brady hero, the opponent will anyways know that you're gonna teleport something, they'll just don't know what, and like Graveyard has the same effect. It is a little bit worse in a sense that you give away the lane you're playing in, but like you also get the +1 attack, which is really nice, and like oftentimes there's gonna be only one lane to teleport in anyways. Not really. But like, it's like saying this is a little bit worse than teleport does not hold it back from, honestly, maybe even S tier. This might be S tier, just it's at least high A tier. I'm actually just gonna put it in S tier though, just for the influence it's having on the meta right now, just as a 1-cost sneak environment, and because of Graveyard space-time combos. Alright. Next off is, I think this one, actually I'm forgetting the name for this one. Headstone Carver. Alright. This is not a good card. It's good on budget when you have a lot of budget graves or something like that. But like, just the problem is just this one attack is just way too block chargy, and it doesn't do anything, and you need a bunch of other graves. Like realistic, like you might say you only need to buff 1 grave for this to be above curve, but like it's not really above curve because it's just 1 attack plus 1 block charger that the opponent ignores plus the 1/1 stat, so it realistically speaking will need 2 or 3 grows. And like then for that to be consistent you'll need a bunch of grave zones in your deck, which don't tend to be that great aside from Graveyard. It's not the worst card ever, but I don't think I'll put it higher than D tier. I think Sneaky class is it's a class where I need a bit higher standards for my tiers, because Sneaky is a little bit of a better class than like Kabloom and Mega Grow, so I'll put it in D, yeah. Next off is Mini Ninja. This is actually a little bit underrated in, as for example, Telems, where you can just teleport it in, or just for the imp synergy. Like once it has Deadly, it's basically just 1-cost 4/1, because whenever it attacks a plant, the attack doesn't matter because it's deadly. Problem is just like turn 1 it's a completely dead play, Like honestly, the toxic waste synergy is actually quite poggers. It just like of course it has CM synergies. Like that's feel like I don't think it's C tier, but I'll put it in D tier. It's not an F tier card. Next off is Smoke Bomb. This is one of the cards that are ran a lot right now, and I feel like are underrated anyways. It's like just one free lane clear basically. Like you have one minion that is way too high on attack, so the opponent like blocks it in some way, and you just say nope, Smoke Bomb, and it kind of has the same effect as Fruitcake, except Fruitcake has some kind of limit. Smoke Bomb just needs any empty lane. And it also even gives one attack, which sometimes actually matters. Yeah, it's just and also costing one basically means you can always just spam that. Whereas Fruitcake costs 2, which also is very spammable, but like again comparing this to Fruitcake and saying it's like slightly worse does not hold it back from S tier. Alright, next off is gonna be Docky Tube. Yeah, this needs like 2 turns of having hit phase for this to be above curve, and at that point, like turn 3, stats is where stats stop mattering that much. So like I don't know, it's not a great card. Just does nothing. The opponent usually just ignores the stat, or if you're up against Smarty, it just gets instantly free traded by Lima. So like, yeah, it just does nothing. It also never takes over any game. I mean, it costs 1, so it shouldn't. But like again, it does nothing. Alright, next off is Buried Treasure. It's a little bit underrated as well. Yeah, it's on curve. It has pirate synergy, which is quite nice. And then you and conjuring legendaries that cost 1 less. It's not very consistent, but it's actually quite not bad, if to say that. I'm gonna put it in C tier. You play it in conjure decks and it's good. You play it in pirate decks, on budget pirate decks, I guess, and sometimes just the legendary will really help. Alright, next up is Imp. Alright, also I forgot I should have put Swabby in S tier right away, but too late for that now. Next up is the Chicken. I don't know, this is like a 1 cost 2/2 that the opponent can't front, except usually you'll want the opponent to front your 1 cost 2/2s. I don't know, it's not a great card. It's not horrible like the F tier cards, at least it's on curve, but it's not good, it doesn't do anything. Next off is Monkey Pirate. This is quite underrated. Actually not so really underrated. It's pretty fairly rated actually. Just an on-curve pirate with a really nice ability. The ability isn't quite nice enough for B tier though, and usually on max there are much better 2-drops, either on this class. Actually, yeah, on this class or your other class, there's quite good 2-drops in this game, especially on Crazy. And Infinity is anyways gonna be the main sneaky hero. So, aside from HG, which anyways prefers imps over anything else. So yeah, it's not a horrible card though. Next off is Space Time. Alright, this one changed a lot over time. It went from like F tier to, let's say, somewhere between A and B tier. The main comparison people are doing right now is between Space Time and Aerobics Instructor, I think. Also that one, also Raptor, I think, but usually you run them together, I think. So yeah, basically what people think of Space Time right now is like an aerobics instructor with 2 health more, that just doesn't actually do anything against plants, but rather just like wins games when it hits phase for enough time, similar to aerobics instructor. And considering it's in the same class as Smoke Bomb and Graveyard, both of which basically double its attack, which on a 5 health zombie can actually be quite threatening all of a sudden. So yeah, the conjuring cards will oftentimes just, like I said, take over games, mainly because galactic cards are surprisingly good and they will cost less. and they're pretty much free after a couple, since you invested the card already once with the Space Ham and then get a bunch of cards for free afterwards. I'll put it in A tier, mainly because of the influence it has right now because of Space Stars, but it's probably closer to higher B. It's like low A, I guess. I think that's fair. Next off is Ice Pirate. This is not a great pirate. It's not a horrible one either, though. At least it like trades well. The thing is just it kinda dies easily after one turn already, so it usually won't do any more than 3 damage, because like 1 health is very fragile. It's not horrible though. Also sometimes you'll pull off a freeze, which is really poggers, especially in a black hole. Actually, that combo is also we have Graveyard in this class, so honestly Graveyard into Ice Pirate is a really legit combo. Just freezing a plant will usually get your free trade, and then you have other you also have a lot of other good environments in the zombies side, like Black Hole as I mentioned, or even Area 22 and like Brain Freeze. Then again, you really won't want to be playing Brain Freeze ever, so like H. But yeah. Alright, next off is Barrel of Barrels. This one I feel like is quite underrated on Infinity specifically. And you just spam this on a barrel, and oftentimes this will actually just win a game together with a barrel of Deadbeards. It's a little bit slow though, like 2 brains is not something you can just spam all the time, so that hurts it a little bit. It's not bad though. I'll put it on C tier together with these cards. Alright, next off is Fire Rooster. This is also a fine card, but it's kind of outclassed by the existence of other 2-cost cards in this class as well. And 1 damage splash can be really nice into like Forget-Me-Nots, and I don't know what other turn 1 play has 1 health that you'd care about. Maybe actually after you Mini Ninja and they front with a 2-2, and you play this with like, it's not great. It's not horrible though, I'll put it on D tier. And next up is Fishy Imp. This is really good on budget, just a very solid budget option. You just dump it into the water and it'll do reliably 3 damage to face. It won't ever see any play outside of budget though, because every other 3-1 just has a better effect alongside that, and Amphibious isn't actually that useful once you're at a higher level. Alright, next up is Frosty Mustache. Freezing is not actually a horrible effect, like I already mentioned with Ice Pirate. Problem is just when a freeze is the only thing you do. Like on one hand, Ice Pirate is straight up better. On the other hand, you kinda just don't do anything. You need a board already just to freeze something to get a free trade out of that. Again, it's not horrible. I'll only put it in D tier though. You'll notice a lot of the F tier cards are just gonna be F tier because they're too expensive, so which is why F tier is gonna stay a little bit empty for now. Alright, Toxic Waste Imp. This is one of the 2 main Imp synergy cards. It's really strong in any Imp deck. Sometimes you'll have to be careful with this though, because you don't want to invest it on the wrong turn only for it to get Berry Blasted immediately, so sometimes you'll want to wait. So yeah, this makes a lot of good decks though, especially Telem's, which is like one of the best decks in the game I guess. And then like, I guess like Neptuna and Affinity Imps aren't horrible, although you shouldn't actually play those in tournaments. So yeah, next up is Swashbuckler. There's this problem with this card that it just immediately gets fronted by any 2-3 and then you just lose the game turn 2. I will say though, once it hits face, becoming a 3-3 already is actually quite nice. It is outclassed by pretty much any other 2-drop that has 3 attack immediately, or it's just on curve. It's also outclassed by Aerobics Instructor Infinity, which is outclassed by Space Time. I'll put it in D tier, together with the other below average 2-drops. It will take over games, but it will only take over games when opponents do nothing, in which case pretty much anything will take over games. Okay, I just crafted that I guess for this. No, I didn't. I don't know what this is, why this just happened right now. Anyways, this another imp. It has this imp synergy. The problem is just that it kind of costs you, and like a lot of the 2-cost tricks, just 2-cost is not as spammable as 1-cost, unfortunately, and especially since we do have a lot of 1-cost imps, this kind of gets outclassed by them. But the imp synergies are actually quite nice, and also with imp commander, there's this advantage of this just having strike through, because it'll mean a guaranteed draw. So yeah. Usually in pretty much any deck it will usually just be a block charger that even if the opponent fronts is just gonna block charge again, which will usually help them. And like I said, in imp decks there's much better choices, so this is gonna be another F tier. Next up is Imp Throwing Imp. I absolutely hate this card because opponents just front my turn 3 Raptors with Summoning and just get Imp Throwing Imp out of that and get just 4 Imps up for no reason, and then they get the free Toxic Waste Imp for no reason as well, so they actually kill my Raptors, which is so annoying. I had so many unlucky moments with opponents just getting this crap out of Summoning, but yeah. So yeah, even outside of index, this is just a really strong card because it's chumps blocks not just this lane, but another lane too, and then oftentimes it'll chump block 3 lanes because you fronted the team up lane. So yeah, that's pretty broken. As also with Toxic Waste Imp and especially Imp Commander, actually on first on first part it's Imp Commander. We just play Toxic Waste Imp on turn 2. Not Toxic Waste Imp, you play the Imp Throwing Imp on 2, and you Imp Commander on 3. And then your opponent pretty much doesn't want to front this, but then they kind of do want to front that to prevent you drawing a card. So they end up, I don't know, it just ends up making plays really awkward for the opponent. Alright. Next up is Excavator. This is a really underrated card, to be honest. Especially since environments are quite popular right now on the zombie side, and 2 of them cost 1, and then you have HD environments which also are really cheap, and also actually Ice Moon specifically synergizes extra with this, since you activate the freezing twice. So yeah, like 4 attack is really solid. It's just really nice to just get in for damage immediately. It just means that you can trade some bigger stuff. 1 health is a little bit fragile, but considering it's a gravestone, it means that the opponent doesn't know how much damage they'll have to do, and it also means it doesn't die to like stuff like Banana Bomb or Beer Blast, which is really nice. So yeah, and the bounce is also really nice because oftentimes you'll have your main card in the graveyard, or you'll have the opponent's plans dragged into the black hole, or you'll have your main card inside of the Iceman as well, so that's probably gonna be the lane you're gonna wanna bounce anyways. And then you can replay your environment in any lane you prefer. So that means that you can use Graveyard again on another zombie, you can like black hole some other lane, although usually you'll black hole the same lane again, or you can like Iceman a different lane to hit face more. This is a B tier card, to be honest, probably actually higher B tier. It's really underrated. I think it should definitely see play more on, even just as a 3-off in like Telums or like Neptuna decks. Should definitely, actually I think they do. I don't think Infinity is optimal on Infinity, but it is really good. It's not a bad substitution for other cards if you don't have them. Alright, next up is Backyard Bounce. I gotta be honest, I feel like this is a little bit outclassed by Excavator, because Excavator additionally gives you the 4 attack body and lets you replay your environments, but it does have very similar uses and similar cost. It also allows for that actual last save, which is an advantage it has over Excavator, I guess. It's a solid card. It's very similar to Excavator. It's also B tier. Next up is Flame Phase. This is, I feel like it's a little bit overrated. It's still a good card though, definitely. It's like on curve, definitely, and it just helps your pirates, which there are a lot of good ones in this game, to go phase, especially in the crazy class. There's like barrel, there's the Deadbeard out of the barrel, there's Conman, there's Grave Robber, and just allowing all of those to go phase is so good. But I gotta be honest, outside of Infinity, pirates are a little bit weak. So gotta say, I'm gonna put this in high B as well, mainly because on other heroes than Infinity, this is not as strong. Pirate decks aren't bad outside of Infinity, but they do fall off. And yeah. This also usually needs you to already have a field of pirates. Like if you don't have pirates on the field because your opponent removes them, Flame Face is usually not gonna be very helpful. Alright, next up is Cosmic Imp. Alright, next up is Laserblade Alpha. This is firstly it's immediately outclassed by Graveyard in this class, just because Graveyard is a better environment and it's cheaper. And it's kind of expensive for what it does. Just like if you want lane clear, backyard bounce is usually gonna be a little bit more reliable, because it also allows for your zombie to stay on the field a turn more, and it also works on heights. I don't know. This doesn't feel that good. It's not horrible, but actually, it's really close to being F tier. I don't know, there's no reason to ever run this, to be honest. If you want to go face, just run like Backyard Bounce or like any other, like Flame Face if you're a pirate deck, or like Excavator, or try Smoke Bomb, to be honest, even in this class. And other classes have like Area 22, which is straight up better, like by miles. On HG you'll have Ice Moon anyways, which is like a one-cost version of this. It's not great. Alright, next off is Line Dancer. This card I also hate because I play Plant Mob a lot, and Line Dancer is actually quite good into a Plant Mob. In fact, Line Dancer is used to be the only good thing Space Stars had going for into Plant Mob. Now that they cut Line Dancer for Raptor, which is probably overall better, but not in a Plant Mob. Actually, Plant Mob has a really good matchup into Space Stars. It already had it with Line Dancer, to be honest, but like it just got a lot more one-sided. And yeah, this is a really good control card turn 3, especially when you also play Excavator, so the opponent doesn't know whether it's Line Dancer or Excavator, so they don't know whether they should front the Gravestone or play it in a different lane. Usually they'll front, so Line Dancer doesn't get valued that reliably. But like on Neptuna specifically, you have a lot of other 3-cost grays, so all of a sudden fronting it becomes a lot less reliable. So Line Dancer will get a lot of more value often. So yeah, oftentimes there's also very good cards that this specifically counters. For example, Velociraptors just get countered really badly by Line Dancer, and this is probably the only sort of good answer to them. And also it's still just a 1/1, but just countering the probably best card in the game. Probably lands this in, I don't know, low B tier? Yeah, low B tier seems fair. Alright, next up is Raptor. This is a really strong card, which is for 3 costs having, like, it's pretty much on curve stats, but you just need to draw 1 card, and it's like 4 damage to face is already really devastating. You're also in the same class with Smoke Bomb and Backyard Bounce and other bounces, so it's really not hard to let this go face. And every time it does, it's so devastating. You pretty much just win the game immediately whenever it hits face. Like I said, Smoke Bomb is absolutely broken with this. And yeah, also Graveyard, because that means the opponent doesn't know what's hiding behind the gravestone. Also, it has this nice synergy with Space-Time, whereas if Space-Time is to the left of this and hits face first, it will conjure the card and grow this before this attacks, making it a threat the turn that you played already. So yeah, this wins games, is really good. Alright, next up is the Garbage Imp. I don't know the name. It's not a very good card. It's not a horrible card on budget though, especially since you have Backyard Bounce and Smoke Bomb in the same class, so just getting his to hit will actually, on budget, oftentimes win games. It's not good outside of budget though, so I'll leave it in D tier. And next up is Smelly Zombie. There's a little bit of an order mess up here, but that's fine. Yeah, Smelly Zombie is really good into specifically Plant Mob, and that's it. There's no other deck this is good into, and there's no reason to ever run this even on budget. Like, whenever this goes face, there's It's just block charges and the opponent will just ignore it for the rest of the game. It will be doing nothing. Although I gotta be honest, it's probably not actually F tier because on oftentimes on ladder there's a lot of decks that just exhaust one plant, and this is probably the most reliable removal of just single plant exhaust, since it's hiding in a gravestone, so the opponent can't actually remove the deadly, unlike the imps, deadly imps or whatever. Actually, deadly imps are probably more reliable anyways, but I'll put it in D tier just because it's actually useful at removing a huge garbage that you need to get rid of, which is, by the way, exactly why it's good into plant mob, because plant mob relies on big garbage and relies on removal, which the gravestone dodges. Alright, next off is gonna be Space Pirate. Yeah, this is just not really any good. It's like a 5-2 that can't get fronted, except that except 5 attack isn't it's not bad, but like 5 attack isn't that great whenever it's face. It is good definitely, but it's also easy to remove. It's like a high risk mid reward card, and honestly there's a lot better 3 draws. I'm just gonna put this in F here, so it does nothing. Like honestly, the trash can zombie here is just better just because it does 6, and yeah, usually you'll have some kind of lane clear anyways, and when it moves into a random lane you can't guarantee that it will actually be an empty lane. So yeah. Next off is Imp Commander, and this will go together with the Imp synergies into A tier. Card draw is really nice for imps because they're very cheap, so just drawing a bunch of cards means that you can actually play a bunch of cards more. And that's one of the best draw engines in the game. It just means you Telem's draws infinite amount of cards, but honestly other imp decks too oftentimes just rely on this card, on Imp Commander drawing a bunch of cards and cycling that way through your bunch of imps, which then become deadly with Toxic Waste Imp. It's also on curve stats, which really helps this. And 4 health also means the fact that it's a 2-4 curve also means that it's a little bit hard to actually remove. So having a strong effect with high health is really useful. Next up is High Diver. This card is honestly just kind of does nothing, similar to a lot of other cards. 3-4 is not the greatest stats. It would be good if it had an actual good effect, but the only good effect it has is pretty much being amphibious, and that is not actually that good of an effect. So I'm just gonna put this in F tier because it does nothing. Alright, next off is the Thing Roller Zombie. I forgot the name of this one, but that doesn't matter. Yeah, I don't know, this is also just... it does nothing. Not much to say about it. Actually, I should maybe check the Discord in case there's some messages, because there haven't been any on Twitch. Alright, Discord is not saying anything. Good. Alright, so next card. Firefighter, this is a complete meme of a card. It's definitely S tier, and I'm just kidding. Let's just skip it. Alright, next up is Grave Summoner or something. Hold on. Okay, I'm horrible with names right now. I knew the names earlier, but I just forgot all of them. So yeah, this is actually not bad. Usually you'll expect Pogo as a 4-cost gravestone or something, or like you'll pretty much never expect this. And like once it hits phase once, that's really devastating. Problem is just there's a few cheaper cards that are devastating, or similarly devastating for whenever they hit phase, like Space Time and Raptor. So he's automatically outclassed by those. But honestly, as a surprise card, he's really underrated, really solid. I'm gonna put it in C tier actually. Like just hit phase once and just get huge. You usually get huge value out of that. Alright. Next off is Pogo. And this is a little bit of an overrated card. It's overrated by YouTube communities, I guess. On the Discord, I think it's pretty fairly rated. It's not a bad card, definitely, but like it's oftentimes outclassed by the backyard bounce just because it costs 1 less. And like great, you have and you also have synergy with Mog, which is nice. But then again, we're living in a meta where unfortunately Blockbuster exists and actually sees a good amount of play. And honestly, the only decks that don't play Blockbuster are the ones that actually are good into gravestones. So like Mog strategies are in a really awkward position right now. So I gotta be honest, I'm not gonna put Pogo a lot higher than C, because it's like good outside of the meta, but once you get into good decks, it just falls off too badly, and just this it's just too devastating whenever it gets removed by Blockbuster. And oftentimes you won't even have a good target to bounce anyways, because like you have to play this on the zombies turn. You have to start your turn immediately by playing this. You can't just see, alright, there's a good plant on the field, I want to bounce it. And oftentimes decks right now are playing around fruitcake as removal. So usually your bounces are not gonna be that huge. Usually you'll want to have something going face, but like I said, at that backyard bounce is just better. Alright. Next off is Trapper Zombie. This absolute garbage does nothing. There's much better environments to run if you want an environment, and those three environments you can actually just play immediately after the plant player played theirs, and it's not good. Alright, next off is instead, this is the best card in, okay, I should stop memeing. I gotta say, unironically though, with teleports, the effect of just freezing everything is actually not bad. So I don't know, is it worthy of D tier? It's mostly just a meme, to be honest. It can be really funny on HG to teleport this in on top of like a pirate or something, especially when you have like Cryo Yeti on the field. But like, yeah, nah, it's not good. It's just a meme. It's funny. I'll give it that, but that's about it. It's not more than funny. All right, next up is Cowboy. That's just the state of the pest card in this class. I'll just say that and leave it at that. Next up is hang on. Okay, this is weird. There should be a card on my screen right now, but for some reason there is nothing on my screen. So I guess I just have to put it in F tier. I can't see anything, unfortunately. So yeah, that's just sad. All right, next up is a Cryo Yeti. This is another quite overrated card, especially by Fry, to be honest. This suffers a lot, and I mean like a lot from Blockbuster existing. And like it's in the same tier with Pogo because you always play them together. You do the Pogo into Cryo into Mog combo, which is like fine. But like as soon as your opponent plays Blockbuster, you just die. And freezing is nice, the stats are nice, but like 5 brains is also a little bit slow. It's just whatever. Alright, next up is Surprise Guard. This is a really solid card on budget, probably the first finisher you'll ever run. Low-key, I kinda wanna put it in C tier actually. Actually, no, I'll put it in D tier with the other budget cards. It's a fine card. You won't ever play this outside of budget, but at least it does more than the cards in F tier. Alright, next off is Mog. This is like I said, this card is the one that's most affected by Blockbuster existing. And pretty much every Mog deck, like Lockout is legitimately the worst deck in the zombie side right now. And probably the second worst is either Pepega Smash, which just sucks, or some Neptune deck. Like if you want one deck per hero anyways, like, I don't know. It's just not good. To be fair, it is optimal on those heroes, it's just that Blockbuster exists, and every other deck that doesn't run Blockbuster is good into gravestones. So yeah. And next up is this piece of garbage, which does nothing and is F tier. Alright, next up is Garglyph. For some reason people like this as a tech into like Cop Cannon. It's really just a meme though. I do not this is way too slow for 6 brains and only being pretty much a stat drop. I will say it is nice that it is protected by a gravestone, but then again Blockbuster exists, so that kind of evens out. So yeah, this is not a great card. I'll put it in D tier above the F tier garbage though. Next off is Gondola. This is a really funny card, but it does nothing. Like at turn 6, uh, you you want to be reliably finishing the game off, and this doesn't do it. It just puts something random on the field. Sometimes it'll take over a game, sometimes it just won't. It just doesn't do anything. And next up is Shark. This does even less, to be honest. Like usually when you have two cards trading, you'll want to be killing the plant anyways. So destroying the plant, I mean. So the only use for this would be Infinity, and like, come on, Infinity has so many better ways of splashing deadly. Like even in deadly splash decks, you oftentimes just don't run this just because like having laser base into like fireworks is just better, and even that is just not good. Like the main good deadly splash Infinity strategy is just a barrel of Deadbeards with either super stench as a superpower or the barrel of barrels to make it deadly. There's no reason to ever run that, even in decks that are made for that. Alright, next up is Stompbot Stomp. I will say, at least this does usually finish off a game, because every zombie you have on the ground just immediately hits face. However, 7 Brains is way too slow, and it does also need you to already have a field. So like, I don't know, can I put it in D tier instead of F tier? Nah, that's just F tier. Alright, and last but not least is Plank Walker. This is not a great card. In fact, Plank decks probably get better by just cutting this for cheaper finishers. However, this is one of the most reliable finishers when you're going late game. So any control sneaky decks will probably want this. Problem is just as control sneaky decks aren't very good because of Blockbuster existing, like I said. And like I said, oftentimes you'll have like on Neptune Knight you'll have Going Viral, which is a better finisher. On Brain Freeze you'll have Area 22 and honestly also Maniac Love, which are just better finishers. On HG you kind of don't want too expensive finishers, and you'll have Blob as finisher, which is better. Honestly, oftentimes just a Cowboy is going to be a better finisher anyways. So yeah, this is a little bit too slow. It will oftentimes finish the games though, so it's not actually horrible. So yeah. I think that will be it for the sneak tier list. I don't think I had that much to say on this one, to be honest. It's not a very... I don't have too many controversial opinions aside for Excavator, I guess, which I really like. I don't know, there's... I think that's gonna be it for today. And... Alright, I kind of forgot to order the tier lists. This is off stream because my stream was crashing a little bit, or lagging for the most part, and it wasn't allowing me to restart recording. So yeah, I'm gonna still have to order the tier list real quick. So out of these, the best card is definitely Cowboy. And I gotta say, I prefer Smoke Bomb over Graveyard. They're really similar in strength though. Out of the A tier cards, I will I'm gonna probably put Raptor in Space Time. Actually, I'm gonna put Space Time above the Raptor because it's cheaper. But those two are probably gonna be a little bit higher than the others. Imp Commander is probably the most important Imp synergy. But Imp throwing Imp is actually also not quite a bad card outside of Imp decks. So this is probably a little bit higher than Toxic Waste Imp. I will put the main Imp synergy as highest of the three though. In B tier, I'll probably have Line Dancer as the highest, with Imp Commander probably a little bit lower than these. I will give Graveyard Excavator a little bit of an edge over Backyard Bounce, and then Flame Face looks good as the fourth place here. In C tier, definitely this guy below the actually good Graves, but I gotta be honest, I'm probably gonna leave this at the bottom, more or less at the bottom of C tier, because of the existence of Blockbuster. So instead we'll have Monkey Pirates is a little bit better than Ice Pirate. In fact, Ice Pirate probably can go a little bit lower as well. In fact, let me just do it like this. Honestly, the Barrel of Barrels is probably the best card here. And then we'll have Swabby. Swabby is probably also pretty good. And this looks good. Alright, I won't be ordering the F tier and D tier because that would take too much brain power for doing nothing. But yeah, that's gonna be also it for the ordering. I'm gonna link the tier list as always in the description, and that's gonna be it. Bye. And this time for real, hopefully, unless I forgot something else, in which case you'll notice in a second.